Hey, how y'all doing? This is Will, and we are here yet again on episode 2 of Let It Make Sense. This is my co-host.
Hello,
What your name is? You ain't gonna tell
my
me what your
name
name
is
is?
Nikita.
That's my wife. You know what I'm saying? So we are going to be talking about a very interesting topic today. And if you're ready to hear this topic, then stay tuned. Alright, we're back. We're back. So, man, you want to tell them what the
Hmm.
topic is about today?
So today we're going to be talking about um or we're going to be trying to let it make sense in regards to um should transgender men and women speak on behalf of the gender they are presenting as. And in just a moment, I'm going to tell you why. Okay. So,
And by the way, we got the word presenting from one of our kids. So.
yes. So if that's not the correct word, if
Educate us.
you can educate us, we don't mind. Before we get into this, I want to say that we are not discriminating. We are not being transphobic or homophobic or anything like that. We're not being biased because we are allies. We support the LGBTQIA plus community.
I just called them alphabet. It's too many of them.
And the reason why we came up with this is because we were watching an episode. Well, we were watching Dr. Umar Johnson, and he has his podcast he'll put when he's done interviews on other people's shows. And this particular one he did with Fox Soul, there were two women that were on there, and then another gentleman that was on there with him. And what they were talking about was about black men being oppressed, or
I thought it was
or as black. It was
black
either
women
black,
that hated black men.
Something to that effect. And my apologies.
The way he worded it on his podcast.
Right. So I was trying to find it to give you the what it was really about. But it was either about why, I think it was about black men being oppressed. And I believe what the point of these two women, because I'll admit that maybe his title that he put for his particular podcast or his platform may have been a little biased, if I can say it like that, because of what he was talking about.
What he trying to get across.
What I just found was actually on one of the ladies that was on the show, Cynthia G. What she said is about are black men oppressed? So either way it goes, that's basically the same thing, right? About what they were discussing was black men being oppressed. Is it validity? Is there validity in black men being oppressed? So the Cynthia G and the other guest, Hope Giselle, were saying that it's not, that they're not oppressed, and whatever their viewpoint was on that, because that's not what we want to get into actually on what we're talking about, what we're trying to make it make sense.
We're just bringing reference
to let you know how this happened. Okay. So we saw that. That's whatever. Well, then there came up videos of Dr. Umar. He was talking about being on the show, and he felt like he was ambushed because he found out after the show that one of the ladies on the show, by the name of Hope Giselle, is actually a transgender woman. And he felt like he should have known that before the show because the conversation could have gone a different way. Then there was another video of Hope Giselle basically mocking him, saying that she tricked him and he thought that she was a woman. And these were her words, and correct me if I'm wrong. She tricked him. He thought she was a woman, and he called her beautiful. He got caught slipping and all this stuff. And then there was another interview with somebody totally different. And they were having a discussion about women, but I can't remember exactly what that discussion was about. But he didn't know that she was transgender until after. I think that's what the synopsis of the person that was doing it was saying,
Yeah.
is that it was after. So that's what made us come up with this question. So I'm going to repeat it again now that you know this context, because for those two instances, she was presenting as a woman and she was speaking as a woman, born woman to, right, giving her perspective. Should transgender men and women speak on behalf of the gender they are presenting as? So that's the question, right? That's what our question is.
I didn't know that she was not, or she was transgender. I'm gonna say this: I didn't know she was transgender, and I didn't care either way, because my philosophy is what you present to me is what I'm gonna call you. I'll be totally honest. I don't get into the them, they, that, and those, and all of that. There's too much. I'm old. But if you present to me as a male, then I'm gonna call you him. If you present to me as a female, I'm gonna call you her. Because I feel like you have a right to choose whatever it is that you want to do, and I don't agree or don't agree is irrelevant. Respect is what's relevant. Mm-hmm. I have to respect you for who you choose to be. And as long as I'm doing that, then I've done all I'm supposed to do.
So then again, like I said, the question that we had. So as a transgender woman on these two platforms, she was not speaking as a transgender woman. She was speaking as a woman, the gentleman thought that she was a cisgender woman. So the question becomes, should transgender people say, hey, I'm transgender, I'm a transgender woman, or I'm a transgender man. I'm speaking from that experience, because either way it goes, if you're a transgender woman, before you had your transformation, you were living your life as a man. If you are a transgender man and you're saying this out, right, you're telling people out that that's what you are, then you've lived your life as a woman and now you're a man. And I forgot to bring my laptop back here. I found an article that was actually really good that Time Magazine did. So I would have appreciated in the particular interview that this person did with Dr. Umar and the other panelists, if you had admitted that you were transgender, that would have been a very good perspective into whether or not Black men are oppressed, right? Because you've lived your life as both, and you are an out person. So people, he didn't know, but people, if they know you in some circles, right, they know that you are. So it would have been like you were lying or like you were being hiding who you were. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Definitely. If you are outing yourself, if you didn't want certain people to know that you were a trans woman, because you have a whole YouTube channel. Yeah. So for those people who do these interviews or who present themselves, you're in these circles. Should you say, this is who I am, I'm presenting as this way, but this, I think so. Yeah, should she had been honest and said that? That's the question. Should men and women, should transgender men and women say, this is who I am?
Here's the thing: if you're going to live as a transgender, if you're going to profess that you're transgender and speak, because here's the thing: like I said, I didn't know. I give people the benefit of the doubt of who they are. I'm not looking to meet her, so I don't. If you, whatever you are, you are. So my thing would be, if you're telling people that you're transgender, in the context of the conversation that we're having, then yes, I think he should have knew, because I feel like that, not because he called her beautiful, whatever.
I mean, and even if he had known that she was a transgender woman, he probably still would have said it, right? Yeah. Nobody's saying that you're not, you're not pretty or you're not cute or whatever. Yeah. So, and I think one of the things that's kind of, it bothered me was the mocking. What she did after. I didn't appreciate that. It's one thing, okay, so he didn't know that you were a transgender woman. Okay, that's fine. He didn't know. But you intentionally, because that's what she said in her own words. And I'm not picking on her or attacking her, because I've seen with my own eyes individuals who have their YouTube channels, and we've seen them, and they say this, right, that they are intentionally tricking people, and you intentionally you intentionally did things so he wouldn't know that you were a transgender woman, just so you could get something out of him. She even said that she tried not to talk a lot, like as though there's something in her voice that will cause him to
know
catch
what
her.
she is. And my
What?
thing is,
Why are you doing that? Just
Because
be who you are. What is it? What does it matter? The article that I was reading was talking about. It was really about trans men, and how they fit into their circles, or how they move in life and work or whatnot. Totally interesting how they saw the shift of them now being a man, that they're allowed into conversations that they wouldn't have been allowed into had they been a woman. And then about trans women now feeling that thing of being marginalized as a woman. So if you are now a trans woman, and as women, we already have to endure certain things that men don't have to endure, why would you add on top of that you are intentionally tricking individuals in conversations or in settings just to see what will happen?
Because here's the thing. The thing is, I hear this word homophobic and transphobic a lot. And I'll be totally honest, I'm not agreeing with that word. The word phobic to me means fear something. I can disagree with something without fearing the thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's what my issue is. No one's scared. It's not about being scared. But here's the thing. It takes conversation. Going back on the Hope Giselle, she had a conversation with a young man who's around my age just this year, who she felt was transphobic, and I think he even admitted to being transphobic. But the thing about it was, he was able to not only admit to being transphobic, but to explain to her, because of the culture in the generation that we're a part of, we're in a generation that being gay just or being trans was not something that you just did openly. I am the type of person, I subscribe to. I'll just be honest. I believe in, I love God and I love people like I want to be. I want to be loved. I will treat people like I want to be treated. So I don't judge anybody. I don't just treat anybody. I think everybody has a right to be happy, whatever that means. But I think the problem is people's unwillingness to, on both sides of the coin, to sit down and have a conversation with one another and really get to understand they are people, we are people. We may agree or disagree, but when you do things like not being honest with who you are, then you create that barrier even more and show that and make it feel like people can't trust you because you're going to do something deceitful or you're going to deceive them in some way. We have to be willing to communicate with one another in a way that does not demean each other, but open enough to be able to conversate with each other that can heal one another.
Because with the two conversations that she had, the first one about the black men being oppressed. Okay, so you have the conversation, you're presenting as a woman, so you're speaking as a woman, but are your opinions or what you are sharing, is it shaded at all in any way?
Because here's the thing.
And if it is,
how long have you been presented as a woman?
So if it is, because you're talking about black men being oppressed, well, before you were a woman, you were a black man. And I'm not saying that you have to take that tell that perspective every time you talk about something, right? But for that conversation, maybe it would have been right. It may have been something to talk about because you know both sides. But okay, so you didn't. That's fine. So you were presenting as a woman and you were speaking on behalf of women. I'm not going to say that you don't have the right to do that because now you're living your life as a woman, so you can, you have
all the parts.
You have all the parts. You have that perspective. But I think in certain conversations, you will never know what it means to be a cisgender woman. And not to offend anybody, but you won't. Here's why. Because the second conversation that she had, and again, I'm not picking on her, but these are the two conversations that we saw that were of her, and she didn't tell the people that she was the gentleman that she was transgender. So she was talking about women's reproductive systems and rights.
Yeah.
I think that's what the conversation was about. They went there with women's reproductive.
Did she say something about they hatched?
No, she said that you will never know about what it's like to conjure life.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I've had 2 children and I didn't conjure anything. I didn't consult a spell book. I didn't go to a cauldron. None of that happened, so it wasn't conjured, because I believe that God turned himself into himself and boarded a 9-month train and made a pit stop over in Bethlehem, and then sacrificed on the hill called Calvary, and then rose up on the third appointed day. Then my children, he helped knit them together in my womb, right? I say that, besides the fact of the life that I felt growing in me. So I don't think that a transgender woman has the perspective to speak about what it means to be able to reproduce. Now, I already know what somebody's going to say in the comments, and let me put a pin right here very quickly and say, be respectful. It's okay to be disagreeable without being disrespectful, okay? So don't be disrespectful to us, and we won't be disrespectful to you. Now, let's get back to what we're talking about. So we all know that there are some cisgender women, are straight women, are women who are who have heterosexual relationships. We know that there are some women who are unable to have children, right? We know that there are some women who have irregular cycles, right? Because a lot of times that's what a lot of cisgender straight women, heterosexual women will go to, that makes them a woman, and that's the difference between them and a trans woman. And then there's the thing that comes back, well, not every woman is able to, and you're right, every woman unfortunately is not able to reproduce, whether they choose not to do it, or unfortunately they just are unable to carry a child in their womb. We know that. So that may, okay, that's fine. But whether or not they can do that, to me, and this is my opinion, I'm trying to make it make sense. How does a transgender woman have the ability or the right to talk about women's reproduction? Now, ally in women's reproductive health, yes, all the help we can get. I think it is sickening and sad that there are men in Washington, D.C. who have decided that women don't have the right to choose what they want to do with their God-given bodies. No. So be the ally. That's fine. But don't speak as an authority. I think that's what maybe the thing is, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. That's where this question came from. Do you have the right to speak as an authority on some things that really may only affect
natural born women?
Even if you have the conversation, right? You have friends who are cisgender, you have the conversations, and then you go relay, because everybody doesn't have the platform. Everybody doesn't have the opportunity to get on whatever it is that you're on and you're having the conversation. Totally okay for you to say, hey, this is the thing. That's fine. But to speak as a first-hand authority, that's something totally different. And
somebody who is experienced that,
and that would be for a transgender woman or man, because you're not, especially for a transgender man, you're going to be able to move into circles and do things that a woman's not going to be able to do. But even if there's some experiences as a man, I don't know, right? Whatever it is,
I say in respect of. In our community, African American, Black, I prefer that term. In that realm, I would say a transgender man will, and I have to say, I guess depending on how long they've been transgender, they've been transitioning. I guess that's the word, transition that they call it. Because there are things as Black men we experience and we go through that you as Black women, it's different. It's just different. I can say, growing up in South Central LA, being stopped by the sheriff at 13 years old and being told, "Oh, we'll take your shirt off. We want to make sure you ain't got no gun." I'm 13 years old. I'm a minor. Why are you even talking to me? I'm in the middle of the street. It's like 8:00 at night. I'll never forget it. You know what I mean? And these are the things that we experience as young men, young Black men in LA, and I'm sure in other states and other cities where we have to struggle just to survive and find our identity. Where a lot of times as women, moms is home. We don't have anybody to model ourselves off except for the corner boys or the street cats, and mama's telling us, stay out the way, keep your head down. You know what I'm saying? Don't get in the way. The police gonna do this. The police gonna do that. So you run around here trying to force your masculinity to the best of your ability, or what your identity of what a masculine a man is supposed to be. And that's a hard situation to deal with when when you get older, for someone to just be like, okay, well, I choose to be a man, so I'm living like you, and I understand everything you're going through. But do you? Do you really understand everything I'm going through? It's like me coming to say, okay, I understand everything a transgender goes through. I really don't. I'm known. To me, and I'll be honest, if you went through all the trouble to be who you said you are, you said you are presenting as a man or a woman, and for those who go as far as to even get the surgery, some of them leave their families and move to different states, then why would you tell anybody that you're trans?
And I mean, for those people who are activists, right? Because every group, every marginalized group has those people who are willing to sacrifice self to speak up, right? So that's whatever. Okay. So that's what you've chosen to do. That's fine. Speak your truth. Be you, whatever that truth is.
Yeah.
Okay. But when it comes to matters of you speaking as that gender on behalf of that gender, be sure that you're actually informed, and that be sure that you're actually informed,
sure that you
and
understand.
And you understand before you begin, because your perspective may be different, or maybe you, like I said before, maybe you've had those conversations, you've got those friends that are cisgender, and you've had those conversations, and so you're speaking on behalf of the conversations you've had. But you just, to me, right, you just have to be sure that you're living your truth, because it's hard being a person of color, period. No matter what you choose to be, whether you're transgender, you're cisgender, whatever it is. So if you're a transgender man or woman, you just added something on top of the fact of whatever it is. So now you're a black woman. Now you've chosen to be a black man. Like the article I was reading, it was talking about the transgender men, that they can't look at babies anymore. That if they look at the children too long, or they look at the mothers with their children too long, it becomes a thing. Oh, they're trying to get them, right? Yeah. Now you're marked a pedophile. But when you were a woman, you could do that. It was okay, because that's what women do, right? They're motherly. So they admire, they say, oh, the baby's cute, whatever. You can't do that as a man. So that same thing, right? So now that you are what you are, your perspectives have changed, but to me, again, be sure that you are
and see, that's something that trans men will experience. Like you just said, the article said they can't look at the babies because they use a pedophile. I think they're pedophile or something. I can remember working in an office, one of the first jobs I ever had in the office. I was way younger than I am now, and I have this thing: if you walk past me, I speak. It's just me. I do it now. My wife just the other day, why do you always say this and that in the grocery store? Because I just speak. You walk past, I'm going to speak to you. I'm going to acknowledge you. And I had a young lady who was one of us, black, and she told a dude I knew she felt some kind of way because I always spoke. So I stopped speaking to her, period. But that's the thing that we go through as black men, and people assume it's one thing, and it's not. I just speak because that's who I am. I'm not trying to talk. You may not even be my type. I'm just speaking because that's who I am. But it makes it, we have to be more cautious of what we say and who we say it to, because then we're looked at as we're trying to do something to you when we might not even be on that radar, or that ain't even the issue. But that's what goes along with being a black man. And some, I would dare to say that goes along with being a man. Period. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it is. So you have to. All of that goes into when you're presenting as the things, and that's what the article was saying, that those trans men had to shift in their mind, because they had to realize, oh, now they're saying things about people. This is horrible. Somebody was in HR. They said certain things about women when they left. They talk about women in the office. They rate them and all this stuff. So they had to shift, and they're like, oh, this is what they are doing. It's kind of gross. And that's what the article was saying.
But do you go and you say something? Because then
no, you're not going to say it, because now you're one of the guys.
You're one of the guys.
And that's what it said in the article. You're not going to say anything. That's what you're one of the guys. So no, you're not, because so that's what it is. It goes with the territory.
And see, that's what I was saying. Like with the young lady that I was speaking to, had it been a woman and she was just speaking, you probably wouldn't have said nothing.
Right. But
being a man is So I don't know why anybody want to be a man.
So, for the final thought for this particular question, let it make sense. Should transgender men and women speak on behalf of the gender they are presenting as? I say yes, maybe, and no, depending on what it is you are discussing. Yes, be an ally, as there are allies for the LGBTQIA plus community. Be an ally of women, because this is the world that you live in now, of course. Yeah. But if there are some things about women that are being discussed that you cannot, that you don't have total expertise on, unless you've had the discussions and now you've got firsthand account. No, I don't think that there's some things, just like, why would I go on a panel dealing with specifically transgender or things in the LGBTQIA community, me being an expert? I don't know. So why would I do that? So it's kind of that thing, right? That's just, again, that's my opinion. So that's what I wanted to make sense. And if you have any responses to that question, please. Of course, please, you won't offend me. Don't be offensive. Don't intentionally be offensive, please. If there's some ignorance on my part or our part or whatever in that area, hey, leave the comments down below. We'll respond. We'll have the dialogue with you.
We'd love to have a whole chat.
We'll come back to it.
Because I think that as far as me, as far as like with the topic of that conversation that she was in, Hope Giselle was in, I think she should have spoke from her experience. Yeah, because in that particular interview, she and the other lady were blaming black men for whatever issues they were going through, saying that black men basically brought whatever oppression that they are having upon themselves. And that's why I had an issue. But she was speaking from a black woman's perspective. And every black woman, and I can't speak on, I can't speak for every black woman, right? For every cisgender black woman, or for every black woman, I can't speak for them. But I'm not going to sit and say that black men have brought any oppression that they have upon themselves. The issue in the black community is that men and black women as a whole totality, not a chosen few, but as a whole, are not on the same page at all. We do not support each other the way that we should support each other. And that is the reason why we still have so much disparity in so many areas. Why is it that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Was assassinated? He didn't just die. He was assassinated. He was taken from this world, not by choice, April 4th, 1968. And we still are fighting for the same things that he was fighting for from 1955 until the moment that bullet ricocheted and took him from this world. Why are we still doing that? Because black men and black women cannot come together as one. We always have something that causes a divide. So now the thing is that we are fighting amongst ourselves and infighting about transgender men and women. Who cares? Who cares? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're a transgender man or a transgender woman. They don't like you either. As long as you got your person of color, whoever it is, right? It's still going to be that issue on top of anything else. So again,
That was my thing, right? We gotta make it make sense about should transgender people, men and women, speak on behalf of the gender they are representing. Of course,
Please
my
leave us a
answer was
comment.
yes, no, and maybe, and leave a comment about it.
And my answer is same thing. It has to make sense. If you're gonna do it, let it make sense.
And then this is the last one. So this is why I read the article that I read from Time Magazine, and I didn't know how else to word it, but basically, it seems like trans women are pushed more to the forefront more than trans men when it comes to just issues or just them, period, right? Why is that? It kind of answered the question in the article. Is because they are women and men are men and they rule the world, and trans women are women, so there's always going to be that woman's issue.
I think it's even more than that. I think trans men, 90% of the time, I would think we attracted to women, and women being more softer and less volatile and less concerning of what other people think. You have to remember, you're dealing with why transgender. You're dealing with a situation where people are more accepting of women doing things than they are of men. And when you say push to the forefront, are you saying just more publicized, more noticed?
Right. They're more because they have women's issues. Because the article was just basically saying that, for the men, they don't have to worry about,
they can kind of lay in the cut and,
right,
and be out of sight.
Because they're men. Yeah. So they still, like, one of the men, this is the strangest thing, and I need to reread this particular part of the article, but I believe this is actually what he was saying. What he was saying is that he had a job and no promotions, nothing. He had been in the job for 6 years. Okay. He went through the transition and became a man and almost immediately got a promotion. And I was like, are you saying that you were at the same job for 6 years and as a woman you didn't get, but as a man? And I believe that's what he was saying. Another transgender person, he decided to transition when he was 54. He was
that's what I call weird.
He was a reporter.
I'm sorry.
He said when he was Sheila, because that's okay, that was his name before his transition. When he was Sheila, people would call in, or men would call in and say, oh, she said this word wrong, or she misspoke, or whatever it was, just constant whatever. But then when he became John and is the reporter, almost no calls. So I think that's the thing, right? Because they are men, they are presenting as men. Men are more accepted in our society, black or white, even though black men have the issue, whatever issues they may have, but they're still men. They were saying, as a woman, I wouldn't walk down certain roads, but as a man, I could do it because somebody's going to mess with me because I'm a man. Yeah. So that's the thing. That's why it's not necessarily, now that I've read this article, it's not that they're being pushed more forward. It's just that they are women, and the women,
I think they're more publicized,
are being pushed. Yeah,
because they're women. I think that's a good and bad thing.
And women empowerment. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, and they follow along. Again, they're some women. Okay, let's be honest. Just don't accept them. They have an issue with regular, natural born women, cis women. Whatever you want to call them.
What are you saying? Go back.
Some trans women have an issue with natural women,
with cisgender women, straight women, heterosexual women, whatever. But
because, and I don't understand why.
Me either, because even in one of the things that we watched of the same person, with what was she talking about? I think Dwayne Wade's daughter.
Son. Yeah, daughter. Oh, my bad, son. Daughter.
And she talked about cisgender women. It was kind of bashing what she was saying, which is extremely interesting. I don't understand that either. Why transgender women bash cis women, heterosexual women, straight women?
Well,
so bad.
Well, they said we can't say that one has nothing to do with the other.
Oh yeah. See, I don't know. So is it cisgender? I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to be ignorant, but I think I'm supposed to say cisgender. I think that's what it is. It's cisgender. But at any rate, she was bashing them because of whatever responses they were given to this picture of her name is Zaya now, I think, kissing her boyfriend. I think it's her boyfriend.
Some dude.
On social media, the picture was shared, and they were saying whatever they were saying, and she was basically what it sounds like the people were saying, because I didn't read the article, so I'm just going off of what the person said that people were saying to the picture, was that she was too young to be doing that, and it being shared on social media. And she was like, there's so much other stuff shared on social media and da. I didn't read it, the comments, so I don't know.
She felt like it was just because they were gay relationships.
But if it was two cisgender 14-year-olds, a boy and a girl kissing, and somebody shared it, I would think that was too much too.
Well, here's
I'm sorry, but that's me. Again, that's me. That's my opinion.
Here's my thing, and I guess I'm just me. If you consider yourself to be whatever gender you're presented as, male or female, and you're dating the opposite sex, see, they keep telling me that transgender is less about sexual orientation as in how you feel. So if you present and feel as a woman, and you're dating a man, how do you consider that to be a homosexual relationship? By design, that is a heterosexual relationship. So if they have an issue with it, it's because of their age and not because of their sexual orientation.
Right. And again, I didn't see it, so I don't know if some of the people had an issue because of the whole transgender of her being a trans girl, because she's not a woman. She's not a woman. She's not grown. She's so 15, a trans girl. 14, 15, or... And then also people may have had an issue with the fact that she's 15, not 14.
Yeah.
15 and the kissing, and it's on social media. So for a cisgender person, if their thing was the kissing and it being on social media, and then she said something about you all were having sex, well, she didn't use the word sex, but y'all were having sex at 15 and your child could really be your cousin, which I still don't get what she meant by that. I don't know what she meant by that. But that may be why they have the issue, because at 15 they were doing more. Yeah. And the thing, now that you're older and you're wiser, no 15-year-old should be doing that. And then she says, so what they supposed to do? You should be doing your homework. And you should be hanging out with your family, hanging out with your friends, but sex shouldn't be a part of your proclivities.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm a little different.
A part of what it is that you just normally do.
I'm a little different. Here's my thing. I ain't knocking the kissing thing. That's your good. So I went to switch cars out right quick, but we're back again. So no, my thing is, I have 6 daughters, and I allowed them to date. I allowed them to have boyfriends. I think they started having boyfriends, 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. Mm-hmm. So they were that age, and I they couldn't go on a date by themselves until they were 16. So, I have daughters who like the same sex. And I have no qualm with that. That's their life. I believe in them living their life and they're living their truth. I'm still, like I said, my confusion is not so much. The way Hope Giselle was putting it was, she felt it was because they were gay, or they were living
right. That's what she felt like.
And my thing is, again, you can't, if you're telling me that you're transsexual and you're living your life as a woman and you feel as a woman, because transsexual has nothing. From what they're telling me, and maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me. Transgender has nothing to do with sexuality and everything to do with how you feel. If you feel like a woman, look like a woman. What they say, if you quack like a duck and look like a duck, then it's a duck. So if you choose to be called a woman and you live your life as a woman, then that's a heterosexual relationship. So i.e. they can't be having an issue behind the fact that the person is...
And again, I didn't see the comments. I'm just going based off of what she said.
And that's just my opinion.
So I don't know. Some of the like I said, some of the comments may actually have been transphobic, but I'm going to say some of the ones that she was pointing out about, because she kept saying having sex about their age. I don't necessarily think those people were transphobic. they were just like, they're young to be, to do, not necessarily to be kissing, but to be putting it on social media.
Yeah.
And then her thing was, there's so much other stuff. Just because they're doing it doesn't mean that you have to do it. And then the question also begs, why did you post that, and who posted it? Why did you need to post that?
Yeah, exactly.
Why aren't we teaching our children to have some type of decorum? I don't care who you are. I don't care whether you some privacy about your life, because everything doesn't warrant it to be on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, or wherever, Twitter, or wherever else it's gonna go. It doesn't matter. So end of the day, let it make sense. I won't necessarily say that trans women are being pushed out further than trans men, or that their issues are more prevalent or more
I'll say some things about
they are more prevalent than trans men, but that is some of it, but that is because they're women.
The death rate of trans women.
And they're women. And because we are in the society that we live in, and since World War II, when women working in the factories and had to go back home, and then went back out to the work, wanted to fight to go back out to the workforce, women have always been a hot button issue. So it's not going to change because of
I'm not going to just say trans women death, because although they're dying at an alarming rate, lately I've been seeing black women, born women, dying at an alarming rate. I don't know what it is with society.
Well, that's just women, period.
Yeah,
though.
and women.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's just, it's not because they're necessarily answering my own question after reading that article. It's not necessarily because they're just trans women. It's just because they're presenting as women and women issues. And, there are trans women issues, but still, hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you, like, it's scary.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I've already had my children. I cried when Roe versus Wade was overturned. I cried because I cried for those women who are still of childbearing age.
Yeah.
I cried for those young ladies who can't take birth control, who unfortunately have suffered from incest or rape, and you're telling me that I have to have this baby. You're telling doctors, can you believe this, that they're saying they will jail doctors. They will jail the doctor and then let the doctor defend themselves as to why they did the abortion. Not that you can defend yourself before they take you to jail. After you've been jailed, you can fight it out in court to say that why you did the abortion, it was justified. I think that's horrible.
Is crazy as a whole. And some of the stuff that I would probably say will cause an issue.
So don't say it. So
no, and the reason it would cause an issue is because here's the thing.
Don't want you said.
I would say this. I have 8 children. I've never given birth to child the first. And I'm a strong believer that whether I believe in abortion or not is not the issue. The issue is I don't carry a baby, so I don't have no business telling nobody how to carry a baby.
And that's what those people in Washington, D.C. need to know.
That's also a two-folded situation. We have to have that conversation another time. Because I'm also believing in, hold on now.
Not using it as a form of birth control.
No, it ain't a form of birth control for me. It's more so the situation of, you want the right to. We'll leave that alone.
Okay, because I gotta monitor what you say. We done enough for this topic. So we
talk a lot at the same time.
Yes.
Same thing.
Oh, let it make sense. That's what we want. We want you to leave comments down in the comment box down below. If we're off base, if we are totally halfway wrong. There, totally wrong, whatever it is, let us know. Whether or not you feel transgender men and women should speak on behalf of the gender they are presenting as, or if you feel that trans women, or do you believe that trans women are put on a pedestal in effect in relation to trans men? That was ultimately the second question. Yeah. I worded it different when I said it, but that's ultimately the second question. And so my answer to that is, I won't say that they're necessarily put on a pedestal, but they are women. and women's issues have always, since I can remember, have always been just a big thing. You know what I mean? There's always been a women's issue, and so now they are put into that as trans women.
And I think that ultimately, I'll be honest with you, I think ultimately that we as black people, and I'm speaking from this perspective, whether you're gay, straight, trans, cis, whatever you want to call, we need to come together as a people. You know, just let it make sense.
Right.
At the end of the day,
because fighting over is not going to make it any better.
Dave Chappelle said it best. You know, you can, no matter what it is,
right.
You at the end of the day, you're still black, you're still gay, he's still white. So he gonna be whatever he gonna be. You still black and gay. So you still have the same issues that we all have. And I don't think if a bunch of Klan men are walking down the street, they're not gonna ask you whether you gay, straight, trans, or not. They killing everything that look like you, or you better be ready to kill them. So at the end of the day, we have to be smart enough to stick together as a unit, because we're stronger together than we ever gonna be separate. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And I'm gonna say this: just men, black men, brothers. Hey, if that's your get down, be your get down. State your position in the beginning, but whatever y'all, if you don't like trans, you ain't gotta like it, but don't put your hands on them. Stop. That's stupid.
Keep your hands.
We gotta stop that. We gotta stop abusing our people because we don't agree with a lifestyle that's not ours to live. Whether they gay, straight, whatever. Flip side of that coin, if you are a part of, and I'm just got to say because I feel like sending all them letters, the part of the alphabet community. Hey, if you're dating somebody who chooses not to have their business out there, respect that. If that's not your get down, then leave that person alone.
And it's not cute to try to trick something. Don't do that.
You know,
that is so ugly. I really wish that she hadn't done that. That was ugly. I don't know. That was ugly. So no matter who you are, whether you are a trans woman or if you're a cisgender woman, don't quit going out here doing stuff, tricking people, and then getting mad when they tell you about yourself.
Or something happened to you.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not cute.
Here's the thing. I don't care what you are. If I'm around you and you straight up dealing straight up and you head up and straight to the point and you be real about your situation, I'll ride with you. I don't care what you are.
Let me make my choice.
We can get if somebody try to do something, we can get out. But if you out here tricking and doing stupid stuff, nah,
let's have a real conversation if it's relevant to the conversation. Because again, I said that if it's relevant to the conversation, right? If it's not, whatever. But then don't go back and say that you intentionally misrepresented yourself, because that's what you did. You misrepresented yourself. I wouldn't believe nothing else you said out of your mouth if you did that to me. No matter what it was. I don't care what we're talking about. You could have told me that the sky was blue, and I still would have went out. Right, I still would have went out and checked. So don't do that. Let's be on the up and up, no matter who you are. Let it make sense and let it be the truth. Let it be your truth, unless it's a bill collector. No,
and with that being said, I'm Will.
And I'm Nikita.
So let it make sense.
Have a blessed day.